Yes, Baskar.
I will start the proceedings.
Yes, please start. Please start. Please go ahead, Baskar.
Let us start the proceedings. Yes. I'll call the meeting to order. Good morning to honorable judges, senior members, friends, and well-wishers. Respected Honorable Justice N.V. Ramana, Judge Supreme Court of India, Honorable Mr. Justice Vineet Kothari, Judge High Court of Madras, Shri K. Parasaran, Pidamagan of the Bar, Honorable Judges, present and past, respected seniors, dear friends. M. Ravindran, Senior Advocate, former President, Madras Bar Association. I welcome all to the webinar for offering condolence to the departed Honorable Dr. Justice, former Judge of the Supreme Court of India. The Honorable Judge was a Secretary of the Bar Association prior to his elevation as a Judge of this court. He has left an indelible mark in the Madras High Court, Kerala High Court, Andhra Pradesh High Court, Rajasthan High Court, and the Supreme Court. After his lordship served and also in the Law Commission of India, wherein he was the chairman with numerous reports on important subjects. His lordship suddenly passed away on 26/8/2020 by cardiac arrest, unable to bear the loss of his beloved wife, Tirumadi Meenakshi Achi, who passed away just 36 hours before him. He is fondly remembered by all the members of the bar, friends, relatives, and litigants all over the country. I
Baskar, you are
just Vineet Kothari, just Judge. I welcome all the members of the bar, former sitting judges, and family members of the guest Ar.L. Lakshmanan. Thank you all. Lord, may I request Honorable Justice N.V. Ramana, Judge Supreme Court of India, to address us.
Can I start? I am audible.
Yes, yes, my lord. Yes, my lord. Yes, my lord.
Yes, madam.
Yes, my lord.
Very much.
எல்லாருக்கும் வணக்கம். Honorable
Yes,
Dr. Justice Vineet Kothari, Judge High Court of Madras, brother and sister judges of Madras High Court, former judges of Madras High Court, my Guru Bhishma Pitamaha, Senior Advocate Sri K. Parasaran, Senior Advocate M. Ravindran, Senior Advocate R. Shankar Narayan, Additional Solicitor General of India, Mr. Vijay Narayan, Advocate General of Tamil Nadu, law officers of the High Court of Madras, Senior Advocate Mr. Ar.L. Sundaresan, President of the Bar Association, M. Baskar, Secretary of the Madras Bar Association, advocates, members of the bar, ladies and gentlemen, all the family members of Sri late A.R. Lakshmanan. It was a deep sense of sorrow that we have come to condole the passing away of Honorable Justice A.R. Lakshmanan, former Judge of Supreme Court of India and a towering personality in the Indian judiciary from Tamil Nadu state, who left for heavenly abode on 27th August 2020 at his native place, Devakottai. He leaves behind him a legacy of qualities of a great jurist. Dr. Lakshmanan was born on 22nd March 1942 in Devakottai, Sivaganga district, Tamil Nadu. After successfully graduating in economics from St. Joseph's College, Trichy, he decided to pursue the law from Madras Law College. In the year 1966, after completing his bachelor law degree, he started his legal career by assisting some of the most prominent senior members of the Madras Bar. Justice Lakshmanan, being a first-generation lawyer, himself admitted to struggling initially in order to survive in the profession. After practicing as a lawyer for over 23 years, as a result of his sheer hard work, he was appointed as a permanent judge of Madras High Court in the year 1990. Justice Lakshmanan excelled as a judge during his tenure in Kerala High Court. He was appointed as acting Chief Justice on 3 occasions. He became Chief Justice of Rajasthan High Court, and thereafter he was transferred to Chief Justice of my parent High Court, that is Andhra Pradesh High Court. And from there, he was elevated as Judge of the Supreme Court in 2002. He served in the Supreme Court for 5 years and retired in 2007. During his tenure in Supreme Court, he contributed more than 200 judgments touching wide range issues, including that of taxation, management of religious institutions, service matters, labor laws, employers' welfare, family matters, many more. During his tenure in the Supreme Court, he was also part of several constitutional benches. After his retirement, he was appointed as the chairman of the 18th Law Commission, and he has undertaken a long journey from an advocate to a judge. He firmly believed that the justice delivery system needs to be improved. In the short span of 2 years, he reflected upon the entire state of affairs of the Indian legal system and the necessity of implementing changes. He submitted almost 32 comprehensive reports to the Government of India, recommending various measures to improve the judicial system in this country. He contributed immensely to the development of family law jurisprudence through various reports during his tenure as a chairman. Throughout his life, he wore multiple hats. One such hat was that of an educationist. He was committed to the cause of improving quality of legal education in India. His endeavor was to enrich the young minds to pursue a profession of excellence and commitment. He was served as Chancellor of National Law University of Jodhpur and Nalsar at Hyderabad, which were renowned centers of legal education in the country. As a testament to his knowledge and learning, he was authored several works in Tamil, English. His books provide a deep insight into years of experience, his depth of knowledge and his unending wisdom. His life and times are bound to be remembered again and will certainly inspire generations to come. The greatest strength of the judiciary is the faith of the people in it. Faith, confidence, and acceptability cannot be commanded. They have to be earned. I believe Justice Lakshmanan epitomized all the required qualities of being one of the most and best judges this country has seen. At this instance, I reminded to quote Tiruvallur, Vaitil Val Vang, Val Bhavan Van Veeram, Thai Vaitil Vaikkapadam. I need not explain the meaning of this Tamil quote, but life is an opportunity to be an example to others by setting exemplary standards, which he has followed. There are innumerable qualities that a person needs to live what can be called a good life: humility, patience, kindness, and a strong work ethic, and the enthusiasm to constantly learn and improve oneself. Most importantly, particularly a judge, one must be steadfast in holding on to their principles and fearless in their decisions. It is an important quality of a judge to withstand all pressures and odds and to stand up bravely against all obstacles. Here I am reminded of a few words of a saint who, while speaking about the contemporary significance of Lord Rama, he said words, I quote, "So people worship Rama not because of the success in his life, but for the gracefulness with which he conducted the most difficult moments. That is what is valued. That is the highest value in one's life. It is not the question of how much you have, what you did, what happened, or what did not happen. Whatever happened, how did you conduct yourself? That is what determines the quality of who you are, unquote. Our values are ultimately our greatest wealth, and we must never forget the same. Justice Lakshmanan wore his values on his sleeves, and I learned immensely from him about being a person, a good person, and a judge. Justice Lakshmanan was very close to my heart. I had attended his 60th birthday celebrations in Devakotai. I will never forget his affection and concern towards me. I must admit, he is the very good host. One of the great qualities of Justice Lakshmanan was he never forgot his friends and companions. Like a true leader, he always took care of everybody. When I was a young judge, we often attend informal meetings together. It was during these times that he would very proudly share stories of ancient Tamil heritage and traditions. He was an individual who was very closely connected with his birthplace, culture, and language. Often with pride, he used to recollect the rich Tamil architecture and Chettinad culture and cuisine. He was indeed a proud Tamilian and had close connections with his grassroots. Before I end, I would like to recollect some of the words Lakshmanan himself, which was a judges must remember and cherish. I quote, "We, the members of the judicial hierarchy, have inherited the legacy of dedicated collective endeavor by the bench and the bar in establishing an unbroken tradition of high efficiency, perfect integrity, and fearless independence," unquote. We should all take inspiration from his words and should strive to commit a vibrant and independent judiciary, which is required in the current times. I feel that the biggest quality of a good human being is that we do not need to remember them, but they remain alive in our memories. Justice Lakshmanan has left the world by making a mark in the lives of thousands of people and always remains to be there in our memory. Justice Lakshmanan enjoyed abundance of goodwill and affection from every member of the bar and bench. He truly believed that while sheer hard work and heartfelt with humility, you can achieve greatness. His life is an inspiration for the young generations during these times. On my behalf, I express and place on record deep sense of gratitude for his lordship's contribution to the Indian judiciary and extend my deepest condolences for the loss. I would like to pay my tribute to Mrs. Meenakshi Achay, Justice Lakshman's loving wife. She took up the responsibility for the well-being of everyone in her joint family and was a loving and caring mother. She will be remembered fondly by all her family and acquaintances. I pay my respectable homage to the departed souls. I pray to God to give strength and courage to the family members. May their soul rest in peace. With these words, I am saying thanks. Nandri.
Thank you, Malad, for your wonderful thoughts with Dr. Justice Lakshmanan. Now, may I request Honorable Justice Vineet Kothari to address us.
Thank you. Honorable Mr. Justice N.V. Ramana, Judge Supreme Court of India and Chairman of NALSA, Mr. K. Parasaran, Senior Advocate and former Attorney General of India, Mr. M. Ravindran, Senior Advocate and former President of Madras Bar Association, Mr. Ar.L. Sundaresan, President of Madras Bar Association, Mr. M. Baskar, Secretary of Madras Bar Association, Mr. Shankar Narayan, learned ASG, other members of family of Honorable Dr. Justice A.R. Lakshmanan, and other dignitaries on the screen and in the audience. Only lucky souls get avatar on this earth in the persona and families like that of Honorable Dr. Justice A.R. Lakshmanan, a former judge of Supreme Court of India, who unfortunately left us all for his heavenly abode about 2 months ago on 26 August 2020. in quick succession of the demise of his wife Tirumati Meenakshi Achi on 24th August 2020. It was indeed an honor and my pleasure to know Honorable Dr. Justice A.R. Lakshmanan personally during his days in Rajasthan, when his Lordship was Chief Justice there and I was a practicing lawyer at Jodhpur. His Lordship's legal acumen and respectful disposition towards the lawyers in Rajasthan High Court was so famous as his Lordships used to address most of the lawyers as Sir, and the quick grasp of the matters and quick delivery of judgments was the hallmark of his Lordship's tenure as Chief Justice of the Rajasthan High Court. And after serving as Chief Justice of 3 High Courts, Rajasthan, Kerala, and Andhra Pradesh, his Lordships adorned the chair of the highest court of the country, Supreme Court of India, for about 5 years. Thereafter, his Lordships not only served as the Chairman of Law Commission of India, where about 30 plus interim reports were submitted to the Government of India for various reforms in the judicial system of our country, but also he has established National Law University at Jodhpur, being its founder chancellor, and later served as chairman of COFEPOSA Advisory Board and NSA Advisory Board. While in Madras, as a practicing lawyer, the popularity of Honorable Dr. Justice A.R. Lakshmanan can be gauged by the fact that his Lordship served as Secretary of the Madras Bar Association for about 4 terms and left such a wonderful legacy that his son, Mr. Ar.L. Sundaresan, Senior Advocate, is now the President of same prestigious Madras Bar Association. His Lordship's contribution to the Indian at various levels was voluminous, and as many as around 1 lakh plus judgments are rendered in the various High Courts and Supreme Court is a treasure trove. His Lordships also encouraged alternative dispute resolution methods, especially arbitration, and I was lucky and happy enough to request his Lordships to impanel his Lordships in the arbitration centers both in Karnataka High Court and Madras High Court, and his Lordships was kind and gracious enough to give his consent for the same. The combination of a great judge, academician, great humane person, and a great host couple was another great attraction for anybody to fall in respectful love with Dr. Honorable Justice A.R. Lakshmanan. I and my wife had the proud privilege to be his guest on some occasions, and on a couple of occasions, my family was lucky to host his Lordships and Madam Meenakshi Achi also. His Lordship's books are now the memories he has left for us and a rich combination of wealth of affection for all the family members and friends around. The vacuum created by the departure of most respected couple in the judicial fraternity of Tamil Nadu will be difficult to fill. And the only way we pay a rich tribute to the departed noble soul is to constantly follow the footsteps of the ideals practiced and displayed by the Honorable Dr. Justice A.R. Lakshmanan. His Lordship was just like father to me also, and I also feel equally bereaved as his family members do today. I am grateful to the Madras Bar Association, particularly Mr. Ar.L. Sundaresan, President of the Bar Association, and Mr. Baskar, Secretary, to give this opportunity to be a part of second such webinar. In the first one, I had the honor to address in the company of the distinguished guests, and the present one in the eminent presence of Honorable Dr. Justice N.V. Ramana Sahib. I thank the organizers for the same, and I pray Almighty to grant eternal peace to both the departed noble souls of Honorable Dr. Justice A.R. Lakshmanan and his wife Tirumati Meenakshi Achi. Om Shanti. Thank you. Mr. Baskar.
Thank you, my lords, for sharing your wonderful thoughts as well as the experience with the Bhagavad Gita. Request Pidamagan K. Parasaran, Senior Advocate and the former Attorney General, to address us.
I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Most respected and honorable Mr. Justice N.V. Ramana Garu, Judge of the Madras Supreme Court, the Honorable Dr. Justice Vineet Kothari, Honorable Judge of the Madras High Court, Mr. Ravindran, the President and members, the other office bearers and members of the Madras Bar Association, the family members of Dr. Justice Lakshmanan, senior members of the board, my other colleagues in the profession, members of the legal fraternity, and those participating on the line. We are all today assembled under the cloud of a great grief and sorrow on the demise of Dr. Justice A.R. Lakshmanan. About him, the Honorable Justice Ramana Garu, who had been a judge of the Andhra Pradesh High Court, which is parent High Court, where Justice Lakshmanan has been Chief Justice, and the Honorable Mr. Justice Kothari of the Rajahmundry had been the Rajasthan High Court. Justice A.R. Lakshmanan had been a Chief Justice there, has spoken their full heart with personal knowledge of their intimacy and the great qualities of Dr. A.R. Lakshmanan Jettiar. My friendship and association with him was deep rooted. In fact, I know him from the day when he walked on the corridors of the Madras High Court with his robes of a lawyer. He hailed from Devakote, which has a special significance for me personally, because my father, his siblings, his relations, his near and dear, his friends, and many of his clients, Nagaratars, hailed from Devakote. Almost every summer vacation, at least for a couple of weeks or more, my father used to visit Devakote, and I also used to be with him, with our family at Devakote, because even if we stay there for 30 days, we will be able to dine only once with one of the relations or friends. And Devakote has a significance in the history of India and in the history of Tamil Nadu. During the Quit India movement, they were all aroused as citizens of India, and you could never have seen a town more patriotic, more nationalist than Devakote. The agitation was such, the subordinate judges' court was burned down and still remembered as a monumental. The ashes of the court were left as a protest against a maladministration of justice by the British. The consequence was the entire citizens, occupants, and residents of Devakote had to pay a community penalty. And my father's brothers had to pay heavy amounts because there were small owners of small houses. Number of Nagaratars paid heavy penalty. That was Devakote. And it is a coincidence that Justice Lakshmanan was born in the year 1942. The Quit India movement agitation was at its peak, and the Devakote subcourt was burnt. After all, when a person grows up in a particular atmosphere, circumstances, tradition, and culture in his family, Lakshmanan was born in that year, in that city, with this background and culture. Certainly, as a child and as one grows up, he learns these things being narrated by elders, and it had gone deep into it. I say it with personal knowledge because during a crucial time in the history of India, one day he and I had to meet and discuss on a very important question, of which I do not want to be discussing or saying anything now. That was the background. And Nagaratar community is a very well-knit community, well-identified community with their own values of customs and traditions. They, as far as possible, never carried their disputes to court. You see, all these things shapes Justice Lakshmanan as a human being. They always went to panchayats or their own community chettiars. You knew all their customs and used to negotiate and settle the matter within a couple of months, not dragging on for one arbitration I was involved, went on for 11 years. Not like that. Within 2 months, 3 months, 1 month, they settled the whole dispute. This was the tradition in which he was born. And Nagaratars were charitably disposed of, very philanthropic, and earmarked a certain amount, in fact, Vaivaya or 1.9 rupee, from their business for charities and for religious endowments to be endowed to all important temples. He was brought up in that tradition and in their values and in their system. So much so, their family was also involved in endowments. And he was a person who was deeply religious and a believer and a worshipper and used to visit the very important temples. And he is serving as judge in several districts gave an opportunity to visit all temples. But religion was something absolutely personal to him. He never brought it openly. He accepted for his worship. He lived a life which was purely secular, following secular values, secular traditions, and bearing in mind that secularism is a basic feature of our constitution. This was A.R. Lakshmanan. When he practiced in the Madras High Court, he was the darling of the bar. And it is again a coincidence that the last case which I had argued when I had to leave Chennai, transplanting myself to Delhi as Solicitor General, was before a judge of the lower subordinate judiciary at Tiruvannamalai, in which I was assisted by Dr. A.R. Lakshmanan and Justice S. Jagadishan, who was then a member of the bar. And it's after that case, worshipping at Tiruvannamalai, I went to Srinagar, my birthplace, then came back to Chennai and proceeded to Delhi to take job. This was our friendship. But even though we were very close friends, once he became a judge, we maintained that distance, but never parted with their friend, company of that intimacy friend. And when he shifted to Delhi as a judge of the Supreme Court, his family had to be shifted. His wife was new to that atmosphere. Even before shifting to Delhi, his noble wife and my wife were very close friends and used to be visiting each other. So when they shifted to Delhi, my wife guided her to take him to the relevant shops, important places which one may require to go and come to all those places. And on 2 occasions, when my wife was not at Delhi, she phoned up to her daughter-in-law, my daughter-in-law, to guide her and take her to town. They went to twice, but off the distance between the judge and his family and the lawyer and his family was absolute and critical. And as far as A.R. Lakshmanan was concerned, though we were so close to each other, I met him on the day when he was sworn in as a judge of the Supreme Court to greet him. I met him on the day when he laid down his office after having been ejected. Except on one occasion, when he had called me to his residence, upstairs residence, I went there. Then Justice Kabir was also in the house around with him. In fact, one of the division benches to stand for a long time as a combination of Justice A.R. Ramana and Justice Kabir. And not only was he the darling of the Madras bar, he knew how to carry the bar with him. When he went to Kerala, when he went to Rajasthan, when he came to Supreme Court also, he carried the entire bar with him. That was the great quality of Dr. A.R. Lakshmanan. Be present, smiling, very kind, very courteous, but never allowed a lawyer to transgress his limits. He had patient hearing, but he knew how gracefully and tactfully to cut short an argument when time was being unnecessarily taken. This is about Dr. A.R. Lakshmanan. There are many other things which one can say, but about his legal career, every one of us know how he functioned as a lawyer, how he functioned as a judge, how he functioned as a chairman of the Law Commission, and the other activities in which he was involved. In fact, both of us have participated in several public functions, both at Chennai and at Delhi. And one of the functions which I never forget is a very odd function. The Madras Discourse. They were celebrating after several years, after they succeeded before the Supreme Court, in which the Supreme Court has held that horse racing is not gambling. And they were celebrating it after 10 or 12 years after the judgment. By the time Justice Judgment had retired, we both participated. I still vividly remember the exchange of pleasantries and jokes and humor at the time of that meeting. And when I was informed that a function is being held today for condolence, I felt so anguished that such a good friend of mine had vanished from our midst, and that we had to attend the condolence meeting office to speak a few words about him. But then one has to reconcile oneself about events about which nobody has any control. I can only recall what is attributed to a great scientist, Einstein. He says Everything is determined from the beginning and end by forces over which we have no control. We all dance to the mysterious tune intoned in the distance by an invisible piper. All live a life which has been predestined by Almighty. Justice Lakshmanan lived a life which is religious, secular, and spiritual. He lived a life of how one should conduct himself as a gentleman. He had compassion. He belonged to a community of philanthropists. He had a like affection for the downtrodden. He was always quick to go to the help of those who are poor and downtrodden. He maintained his social relationship even after he became a judge, but at the same time ensuring the distance between the judge and the others with whom he socializes. In him, there is a loss to the Madras bar and bench, there is a bar to the legal fraternity, and above all, it is a personal loss. The gentleman who have been not so successful, but for a very affectionate and family attending wife with whom she was blessed to live. And as at the opening it was said, he could not bear the grief of a separation of such a noble wife, because probably if one calculates the time one has spent, Justice Ar.L. might have spent more time with his zealous mistress, because morning you prepare the case, go to court, you come, you interact the clients in the evening. When do you spend your time with your family? Only during dinner if you have got some time, and then you retire to bed. Therefore, you might have spent more time with the mistress of law than with his own beloved wife. So much so, at that age, to part with one with whom one has lived such a long life is so painful. And to part with one who has supported one in his successful career is all the more painful. And as it was pointed out, 36 hours was too long a time for him to survive after her death. He followed after her and reached the heavens to live there along with her happy. May his soul rest in peace. I thank you for the opportunity which I had, but it is not an occasion when one can thank, because it is more an occasion for grief and ventilate how you feel on an occasion like this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shri K. Parasaran, former Attorney General of India and Pidamagan of Bar, for sharing wonderful thoughts of Mr. Dr. A.R. Lakshmanan, particularly calling Dr. A.R. Lakshmanan as darling of the bar. Thank you. Now may I request Shri M. Ravindran, senior advocate and former president of the Madras Bar Association, to share his views. Yes,
Most respected Honorable Mr. Justice Ramana Garu, Judge Supreme Court of India, Honorable Dr. Justice Vineet Kothari, Judge Madras High Court, most revered and my esteemed senior, Sri Parasaran, Mr. Sundaresan, President of the Bar Association, Mr. Baskar, Secretary of the Bar Association, friends. We are assembled to mourn the sudden and unexpected demise of one of the greatest judges of the Supreme Court of India, Dr. Justice A.R. Lakshmanan. Justice Lakshmanan was an embodiment of great virtues that a human being could possess. He had humanness. He always treated fellow human beings as equal. He was a great author. He had written several books in English and Tamil. He was a great speaker. He had addressed hundreds of meetings and conferences on law, religion, culture, economics, and finance. He was a great legal luminary, authored 137,000 judgments, which are quoted even today. He was a great philanthropist, helped countless number of people who were in distress. He was a great host, hospitable hospitality was innate with him. My friendship and association with him spanned over 45 years, till he became a judge of the Madras High Court on 14 June 1990. We would meet every day. Those days were joyful. The Madras Bar Association was a witness to his jokes and ready wit, which created a lot of laughter. The lunch hour would be an enjoyable time for all of us, as Lakshmanan would bring scrumptious and tasty food from home, and all of us would get our share. After he became a judge, we used to meet at functions, and sometimes he would invite us for dinner at his residence. When he was practicing, we went to many places to attend various functions. Justice Ramana Garu mentioned about his 60th birthday. All of us friends from Madras, Gandhi, Maslamani, Jayadis, and myself, we all went to 60th. Not only his 60th birthday, all the marriages of his children, his father and uncle's 60th birthday, 80th birthday, all the functions we attended. And we used to go together to Masonic meetings, law conferences, etc., throughout the country. One memorable trip was our journey to Bombay. There was a national convention of the intelligentsia at Bombay for 2 days, 22nd and 23rd August 1981. A special train had been arranged for us as we took 500 advocates from Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry. We left on 20th August and returned on 24th August. Lakshmanan, Raju, Jagdishan, Gandhi, Matsalamani, and I led the advocates. Those 4 days were memorable days, as Lakshmanan was cracking joke after joke during our journey. We did not feel the tediousness. On 9th June 1997, I celebrated the marriage of my daughter at my native place, Madurai. Lakshmanan came 1 day earlier and was there for all the ceremonies connected with the marriage. Dr. C. Rangarajan, then Governor of the Reserve Bank of India, came for the marriage as he was co-brother of my Sambandhi, that is my son-in-law's father. I introduced him to Lakshmanan. In 2 days, they became very friendly. I never imagined that we would be meeting again together on a happy occasion. The occasion being when Justice Lakshmanan was transferred to AP as Chief Justice in 2001. Sri Chandrababu Naidu, then Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, specifically requested the then Prime Minister to appoint Dr. Rangarajan as Governor of Andhra Pradesh, as Sri Naidu wanted his advice on the economic reforms which he wanted to introduce in his state. Dr. Rangarajan was appointed as Governor of Andhra Pradesh in 1997. For the swearing in of Lakshmanan in 2001, my wife and I went to Hyderabad. Lakshmanan remarked that when he met Dr. Rangarajan at Madurai in 1997 during my daughter's wedding, he never imagined that Dr. Rangarajan would one day administer the oath of office to him as Chief Justice. During the function, Dr. Rangarajan introduced me to Sri Chandrababu Naidu as his Sambandhi. Naidu had already invited Lakshmanan and Achi for tea at his residence. After our introduction, he invited me and my wife also for tea. We accompanied Lakshmanan and Achi and spent almost 2 hours with Chandrababu Naidu and his family. A hilarious thing took place. As usual, Lakshmanan was in his usual form of joy and he tried to pull my legs. He told Naidu, Ravindran is Manavadu, he may be related to you. Naidu was perplexed because only a few hours earlier, Dr. Rangarajan, Governor, has introduced me as his Sambandhi. Naidu knew Rangarajan was a Brahmin Iyengar. How Iyengar could become a Kamma Naidu within a few hours, he was perplexed. Then he explained to Naidu that my son-in-law was an Iyengar, and through my son-in-law, I am related to Dr. Rangarajan. Next day, Dr. Rangarajan had invited us for lunch at the Raj Bhavan. We spent 3 memorable days in the company of Lakshmanan and Achi at Hyderabad. It was a God-sent opportunity for me to have spent valuable time with the 3 stalwarts who made their indelible mark in the respective fields of activity. We all felt sad on 3rd December 1997 when we heard the news that Lakshmanan was transferred to Kerala. On the day he left for Kerala by train, There was a huge crowd at the central station. His colleagues in the bench, senior advocates, friends, and relatives. Almost 200 members of the High Court and subordinate court staff were there. When the train was about to leave, they all wept, saying who was there to help them hereafter. Lakshmanan had secured admission for the children in educational institutions, secured jobs for the children, and got assistance for medical treatment to several members of their families. Wherever he was posted, there would be a minimum of 10 or 12 people every day for lunch or dinner at his residence. When he was in Delhi, we 20 advocates from Madras attended a law conference. He addressed the conference. On seeing us, he came to us and asked about our welfare and our program. Then he invited us for dinner. When we said that why should we trouble him, as there were 20 members, he said that if he left Delhi without having food with him, he would feel sorry. Then all of us went to his residence and had dinner and spent almost 2 hours with him. On 1st and 2nd of 1994, a high-level US delegation visited India. It consisted of US Supreme Court judges Antonin Scalia and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and 4 Federal Court of Appeal judges, lawyers, and family members, totaling 20. I was the president of the Bar Association then. For 2 days, there were several functions, including a seminar on human rights protection in India. When all of them vacated their rooms in Hotel Trident and came to the airport to emplane for Calcutta, the Indian Airlines announced the cancellation of flight at 11 p.m. in the night. The US Consul General and I were there to bid them farewell. When we contacted the hotel, they said all rooms were full. I did not know what to do. I rang up Justice Lakshmanan and told him our predicament. He asked me to wait for 10 minutes. Within 10 minutes, he called me and told me that he had made arrangements for judges, that is, 2 Supreme Court judges and Federal Court of Appeal judges, to stay in Park Sheraton through Hon'ble or Basha. For others, he had made arrangements at the guest house of M.A.M. Ramasamy. It was a big relief for me. Only Lakshmanan could make such arrangements within 10 minutes. I cannot reconcile with the fact that he is no more. When I am narrating these incidents, I hear the voice of Lakshmanan calling me with my full name, Ravindran. I miss him very much. I can go on narrating several incidents and anecdotes. For want of time, I refrain from doing so. I associate myself with all of you to offer our condolences to the family members of Justice Lakshmanan. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your wonderful thoughts to the Dr. A.R. Lakshmanan. Now, I A.R. Sundaresan, Senior Advocate, President, Madras Bar Association, to give his response.
Respected Honorable Justice N.V. Ramana, Judge Supreme Court. Respected Honorable Justice Vineet Kothari, Pitamaha of the Bar, Shri K. Parasaran, former Attorney General, Shri M. Ravindran, Senior Advocate, Honorable Judges, respected seniors, my dear friends. I thank Madras Bar Association for having convened this condolence meeting to think about our departed father and mother. I thank Honorable Justice N.V. Ramana, Judge Supreme Court, for having spared time and participating in this function, and for the nice words spoken by the Honorable Judge. Honorable Judge said, Justice Lakshmanan need not be remembered by anyone because they will remain in the memory always. Thank you so much, my lords. I thank Honorable Justice Vineet Kothari J for having enlightened about the hospitality which father and mother as a couple have always been sharing with the friends and members of the bar. Thank you, my lords. I thank Sri K. Parasaran for having enlightened us about the grassroots from where father had come, the status of Devakotai at that point of time, and how the panchayats and other things have been inculcated in father, and the association between the family of Sri K. Parasaran and our family. Thank you, sir. I thank Sri M. Ravindran, senior advocate, one of the closest friends of my father, for having spoken about the association and the friendship which he always shared with numerous friends. I thank all. And I can only say that, as Justice N.V. Ramana said, all of us will keep father and mother in our memory, and we will think about them as if they are still with us and they will guide us. Thank you very much. And on this occasion, I only take this opportunity to offer condolence to the family members of numerous persons who would have lost their kith and kin during the period of COVID and this lockdown. Let all the souls attain Atma Shanti. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President. In the honor of the departed soul, we request members to observe 2 minutes silence. So I call for the end of the meeting. Thank you.